Hey coaches, welcome to Speed Kills Football. We have another great guest for you today. Kenny Simpson, the head coach at Searcy High School in Arkansas, defending 6A state champs. Coach has 4 books out. You can check them out. Find a Way, Coaching Football Like a Basketball Coach. And he has 2 books on his gun tee RPO system that you can also check out on CoachTube. But today, Coach is going to be talking about flavors of belly out of his system. Go ahead, Coach. You can take it away.
I mean, I appreciate you having me on, Coach, and guys that
are
from all over. Am I on? My good, Coach?
Yes, sir. You're good to go.
Perfect. Okay. Guys, I appreciate you coming in on a Sunday and listening, or guys that may be watching this later on. One of the coolest parts about 2020, and there weren't very many good ones, was all the wealth of knowledge being shared and the cool connections to make from guys across the globe. And so I'm overly appreciative of the football community. You know, I never envisioned some guy in Searcy, Arkansas, connecting with guys in Mexico and all over the place. And it's been really cool to do that. And so appreciate you guys being here. I'm not going to waste a lot of time going through a lot of background knowledge. I just want to get right into it today, but feel free to, use the chat or whatever and ask questions, because this is not meant to be, just a lecture. I will go through this and I'll share this with whoever wants it. So if you're on here listening, you shoot me an email and I'll use the PowerPoint. Don't feel like you got to take notes or, I'm getting old now or I can't keep up sometimes. So, but if you'll email me, this is my email. I'm going to try to get it where I can see it here real well. I will share whatever you want. I've been blessed in this coaching world and I want to give back. And this is kind of why I do what I do. So this is my contact info, guys. That's my cell number. Probably not going to answer, recognize it, but I'll text you back probably. My Twitter handle and my email. And then, of course, I've got a website where there's a lot of other materials on there if you're interested in those. Coming out of my system. So this is going to be out of the gun tee, but I believe you can run this play out of 10 personnel, 11 personnel, 20 personnel, or what we basically have run the last 8 years, 21 personnel. I'm just like everybody else. I'm always looking for something to do. Next year at Searcy, we're going to be a little different personnel-wise, but this play will still work. And so the concept, I think, can go to whatever you want. But if you want to learn more about my specific offense, I got a gazillion materials out there. Feel free to go look at whatever you want to. For us, strong belly is not really a wing tee kind of play, but it does marry really, really well with the wing tee. And so,
yes,
me, I'm going to go through and kind of talk about the different parts of it that we like. Feel free to stop me in the middle. I'm going to try to monitor the chat, Coach Storter, if you'll help me a little bit.
Yes, sir, I got you.
Okay, good. Because I want this to be questions you guys get. For us, though, this is a mindset kind of plays an inside run. I was not a big inside zone guy just because of necessity. I don't down other plays. They've worked for guys that have done really well. It didn't work for our kids. We didn't really have that kind of running back that could run inside zone. It was kind of an expensive play to put in if you're going to get really good at inside zone. I've run it before. So we went to this as our inside run play. We wanted to be able to have a downhill play that was basically going to pair with a lot of what we were doing with Buck. So we do a lot of pulling, a lot of kicking, a lot of wrapping, a lot of second level blocks, a lot of base blocks, and teaching our linemen about angles and such. So to me, it was a play that married kind of with what we were doing. A lot of people call this like an ISO play or a gut play. But the mindset for us was we wanted a play that we could run if we were dominant up front and we could just mash people. We also wanted that play we could run when maybe we weren't, and they were a little more gifted than we were up front, and we could still get yards.
Hello. Come here.
All right. So here you go, guys. This is basically the play. Different looks at it. I've got it on here, but you can kind of walk through and look at it. To me, in the top left corner, that's the base way we're going to run it. And we're 21 personnel. We could run this out of 11 or 10. You just wouldn't get the double insert, which kind of I think makes it really special. But we teach from center over simple rules. Our center is going to block on backside. He does that in buck. He does that in belly. He does that in a lot of plays. So it's very normal for him. Our guard is going to block the number one defensive lineman, head up the center over. So that could be a 0, a 1, a 2, a 3, even a 4 at times. And so he's just going to count. That's my guy. Generally in our offense, our guard is more of a puller, and so we got to help him. So this play lets him double team a lot, which would make sense because he's kind of a smaller guy in our offense. Our strong tackle is going to block the number 2 defensive lineman from the center over. The only time that would change is if we had a 3 and a 9. You can kind of see it down here in the bottom left. If you're looking at the screen, bottom left, we're not going to go all the way outside of C gap to go block a guy. So there's not a threat. So now we're going to block number 2 and get, or number 1 and get a double team. Tight end's rule is very simple in this play. You block out. You can take an enforced player out, and we tell our quick guard and our wing we're both inserting. We don't overcoach it. Usually there's a pretty obvious gap by how the defense lines up. I mean, very few defenses are going to line up in A, B, C, and D gap. So whatever the natural gap is probably where you're going to insert. Okay. And we tell our guard more than likely you're going to handle backside linebacker, but don't assume that. You may wrap through A gap and the stunner comes, you pick him. Our wingback path of least resistance. So you're going to scoop underneath and you're going to try to find whatever path comes available and work to play side linebacker. And then on the backside, our quick tackle is kind of the key to all of our RPO game. So he's going to run gap hinge base. That's his base rule. And then if we want to start playing around with RPO world, he becomes the linchpin to that. He'll be the guy that'll release to inside linebacker and we'll read the 5 technique, or he'll outside release to an outside linebacker and we'll read that 4-eye, or he can gap hinge and we may read the inside linebacker. So there's a lot of, he's kind of the linchpin in that RPO world for us. And then we just marry whatever our screen game is that year or quick game is that year with this play. And so a lot of times we won't have a quick pass pro. This is it. We're going to run this, and then there's an either or with our quarterback. He can throw the quick or he can hand the ball off if we don't want to attach a true RPO to it. Put a few different adjustments on there, guys. In any play, you better have tags. I think that's the way the world is going in football, the way it should go. You teach the base concept, you teach the tags that need to go with it, and then your guy can make the adjustments off of that. So because we only run about 3 run concepts, we're able to tag. So I can't go through all of them in here, but I can go through a lot of them in here. And if you want to email me, I can give you a couple other little subtle tips we do with maybe splits or tags, everything we like. But the main thing is we're going to get really good at this play. Okay. For us, again, here's your look. On a fast screen, we're generally going to be pretty much reading that outside linebacker. So our goal was we wanted to, anytime we run the ball strong, which is the tight end strong side, we want to be able to run backside players, backside 5 technique, backside inside linebacker, backside 4-eye. We wanted to read all of them. Or if you decide just to give us some give me's, or we can throw a screen, or we can throw maybe a kind of a peak route, an inverted route, or route. We want to be able to do that stuff so that every year we're protecting our run. If you want to bring this guy in the box, we're going to make you pay. Or if this guy's really talented, here's how we're going to make you pay. That's kind of our goal for it. And you can see, again, our blocking rules don't change. We don't care if you're a 4-front or a 3-front. We just number it off, handle it that way, because in the leagues that I see, we can prepare for a team and they come out in a whole different look because we are unique. So we're so heavy 21 personnel, we may get a completely different look. So we teach rules, we teach techniques, and then we adjust in the game, but the rules are all built in. As a younger coach, I'd get mad at the scout team D because he wasn't lined up right. Well, the reality is I have no idea game. So we're going to teach the techniques and make the adjustments based off our rules. Okay. For us, this is what we want. And this is why I prefer belly versus zone. This is if we have a running back that's not great with vision, this takes it out of his hands. We tell him you're going to follow that guard. That wrapping guard is going to pull through. You're going to get your hand on him and lead him into the block. We feel worst case scenario, the guard makes the wrong read, at least you got a friend with you. And now you can hide and get up inside the hole. So to us, it took kind of the thinking out of our running backs. If you got a super talented running back, you can still run this play. We ran it at Searcy, and we had really good running backs this year. But if you are on the other end of that spectrum and maybe your running back is a great hardworking kid, but maybe doesn't have great vision, I'd highly recommend this type of play. It's just gap scheme versus zone scheme. When you put it in, you got to make sure you're drilling it right. Because like anything else, all plays are good on a whiteboard. How do you do it? Why are you doing it is a lot more important than really what you're doing, in my experience. So drills for us, we're going to look for what can we do to maximize our play and our practice time. We do a lot of what we call pod work, where we're going to bring our guys in, we're going to separate them out, and we're going to work the skills needed for the play. I get really, really upset if I look down there, we're running a drill that I can't directly correlate into our game plan. So for us, the pod that we work strong belly is we'll take our guards, both of them we run strong and we run quick belly. Our guards are going to work the skip pull or blocking second level. Our wings and our tight ends a lot of times will work together. The wing will block out, the tight end will block out. The wing will scoop underneath. And then our quarterbacks and our running backs are going to go with our guards there. And we're going to work the RPO reads off of that. Our quick tackles oftentimes are working with a receiver coach or another coach about blocking in space. So if we're going to gap hens, they'll stay with the line coach. But if we're going to go out there and block a second level guy, a lot of times they're working with a different coach. And then our O-line coach, a lot of times will take this time to work double teams. We got to work a center guard double team, a guard tackle double team. And so they're going to work a lot of side of this. To us, the main thing is to hit the ball downhill pretty quickly. Okay, so I'm going to go through a little bit of this. This is what the pod looks like. So for us, our pods are going to look like with the hurdles early. So we will eventually go away from hurdles to people, but we start them with landmarks. So we used to do cones. There's nothing wrong with cones if you got it. We started figuring out that hurdles were really, really good to us. And Coach Moore, I see your question. I will get to a couple of things we got to answer when we get back into scheme. For us, we want to make sure our guys are running through something. And the hurdle kind of gives them where they want to run through it. So here's kind of an example. Zoom film is horrible. So again, if you guys want to send me an email, I will just send you this PowerPoint and you can kind of go through it. But I did want to at least show it. Okay. Our guard is going to run through the hurdle. Our running back is following him through it. So again, we're working on finishing. So our guard, skip, pull, running backs with him. The ugly guy with the straw hat is me. I'm right over here. I was a lot, skinnier and younger there. And I'm the read. So you can kind of watch quarterback's eyes should go to me. I don't come to him, so he hands it off. If I squeeze, he pulls it. So again, I can move the read. I'm the read. So I can move back and be the inside linebacker. I can move out and be the 5 technique, and I can be his read. If you look over to the left here, our receivers are over there working whatever screen we're marrying with this. And then you're not in the picture down in the end zone. Our other linemen are usually working double teams. And a lot of times our tight end wings are working as a pod. So that's the idea of pod work. As we progress during the season, we get rid of the hurdles. Our kids kind of at that point have figured it out. We're not running an RPO. I'm back here. You can see our guards. It's an easy rotation for them. They work the down block. They work the wrap. Works getting on them. It's a nice, easy, quick pod we go through. Try to get it a lot of reps if we can. Now, I've kind of cooled out a little bit on getting 100 reps instead of now we will talk through some things. We want to get about 5 to 10 quality reps in a 5-minute period with each player. So if you got a bunch of players, it's going to move really, really quickly. If you only got like 3 or 4 guards, I would recommend you kind of slow it down. We don't want it to be sloppy. Like what we don't want is for this guy not to run full speed and him to run full speed because then our timing gets off. Like right there, I would prefer that guard went a little bit quicker. And so that's just a kind of a little coaching point as you get there. Base blocking a strong belly for us, we want to make it where we can win even when we're not physically dominant. So we want to run through the natural gap. And you line your kids up, line up the defense and say, where's the natural hole? And they'll point, A gap's uncovered, B gap's uncovered. See, whatever gap's uncovered, that's where the play is going to be designed to go. That's why we like this play. It's a flexible, versatile play. It takes advantage of whatever you want to do defensively. You can line up however you want to. We're going to try to hit this gap. If we get a gap all, somebody asked a question about, ways that teams try to answer this. You get A gap, B gap, C gap, then all we're going to do is block everything out and we'll hit it in the A gap. Okay. We wanted to block as few people as possible. So we're going to read backside guys. I've got some RPOs I'll go through. And then we want to use formations, tags, and so on to try to help our numbers. You coach football long enough, offensively, the best thing you can do is get the ball to your best player with the best numbers possible. At that point, that's about what you're trying to do, in my opinion, as a coach. So here's some actual game film on it. Again, I know film through Zoom, usually not great, but I will kind of walk through at least a picture, run the play a few times. And again, if you want this PowerPoint, just let me know. You're looking at our rules. So we're going to gap hinge if we're not RPO, which we weren't here. We're going to gap hinge with a quick tackle. We're going to pull wrap. We're working to backside backer. Where our center, it has a head up, so we ought to be getting he's backside. So as soon as we got a backside, he's going to block back. Our guard and tackle, that's the now number 1 defender on this side of the center. We should be getting a double team. Tight end blocks out. We're going to fold the wing to play side right here. Going to hit the ball downhill. If this guy wants to come make a tackle for a gain of 2 or 3, let him do it. Okay. And so here's kind of our idea on belly, hit it downhill. And then, of course, you guys have a good running back and he makes guys miss, and you get big plays like this. I'm not going to run all the way through. He's fast. He's athletic. He scored. But the play got him about 10 yards. I put this play on here a lot. I want you guys to see that this is early in us running this offense. We're not great up front. We had great kids. They worked really, really hard. We're not really dominating people. We're basically slowly moving guys. You can kind of see here, they actually got penetration. We actually prefer belly against those penetrating defensive fronts, because a lot of times those defensive linemen will take themselves, like right here, right out of the play. Look at the tight end block here. It's not like that was an overly powerful block. He actually should have stayed on his back hip more, but we allowed that guy to run himself out of the play and we hit it downhill. Okay, so we're teaching our linemen skills. And you notice here, our guard and our wingback hit different gaps. Our guard saw A gap open. Our wingback saw C gap open. Are they right? They're both right. Take the first gap, take the easiest gap, and then our running back's going to be able to pick where he wants to go. Okay. This is it with a more dominant front. So we did get better. Coach has a question on tight end block for us. You saw on that clip, he shouldn't have let the guy come back in on him. Like, he should have stayed on his hip and run him upfield. If the guy's going to make your job easy, let it make your job easy. If that guy wants to run upfield, let him run upfield. This is not a kill shot. If you get a 9 technique that wants to come upfield, just put your hand on his rear end, shove him on by, and we're going to run underneath it. And so to us, if you got a dominant 9 technique, having a hard time with him buck, widen that split out a little bit, let him run upfield and run underneath him. This is kind of our answer to that. Okay. Got a dominant front. It looks more like this. You can see a little bit, we've advanced as far as our ability, blowing them off the ball. You can kind of see what we've got. The backside RPO, quarterback has the screen if he wants it. Okay, so I know that, again, the film's not great here. He's got the screen if he wants it. Same rule. We're gap hinging, so we're not reading anything right there. We're gap hinging. We can throw the screen. We can hand the ball off. You get the double teams, gain of 8 or 9 yards right there. We were going foot to foot with this offensive line because of personnel. I think that's one thing. Any offensive system you have, you make adjustments on your guys. We weighed about 280 across the front. We were almost foot to foot. Years that we're a little more athletic, we're going to widen out those splits a little bit. So that was an adjustment based on personnel. We can do formations. So this is still belly. We just went over. So our tight end's having a hard time. We move him over here to the quick side, bring our tackle over here. I like this clip a lot because when you watch the play first time, it looks like, man, y'all just gutted them. I mean, you just pounded them. But then when you slow it down a little bit, you'll notice they kind of ran themselves out of the play. We get a big play, hit it up in there, explosive run play. We ran for like 340 yards this game, so we must have really dominated. Well, not really. We allowed their technique. You can kind of watch here. We allowed their technique. Right here, that's an easy block. Allow this guy upfield, okay? You can see him pause it right there. The penetration. We snapped the ball. Here's the official. We snapped the ball right there. One guy, maybe 2 guys, move their guys upfield. We don't care about vertical push. We just want to take you horizontally and create a seam. And then what it does is it allows our wingback, who's a great job on this, our wingback and our guard to lead up through that little hole, and there we go. So that's one of the reasons I really like this play. You don't have to be dominant to be successful. We have a couple adjustments. I'm going to go through a few of those. I really want to get in the RPOs, and I want to leave about 10 minutes here at the end for questions you guys may have. fan blocking is one thing we can do. So anytime you make an adjustment, we kind of go through this before I hit all our adjustments. Anytime you're making an adjustment and you're deviating from your base play, you're leaving yourself open to something else. So anytime you're making an adjustment, realize that you're kind of moving away from the base. So we don't want to do this unless we have to do this. So our fan call tells our wing to block out. And it sounds exactly like what you would think. Now we're only going to get one insert and our wing is going to block out. Well, what's the downside of that? Well, we're not getting two dudes leading. So it's going to be harder to get to that backside linebacker if our double team doesn't win. So understand when you start making adjustments, it doesn't always work. Like actually this clip.
All right, Q, I'm going to holler at you later, man.
Okay, so what we're going to do here, you notice our wing is going to block out. 9 technique was giving us problems. So we're going to fan him out right here. We're going to hit up inside and look who makes tackle, backside linebacker. So I wanted to point these things out that, I thought that was the right call. Our tight end was really struggling that night. So we blocked out. But when you start adjusting your scheme, it's not always good. So you need to understand why you're doing kind of what you're doing. If we're going to fan out, we need to understand that backside guy, we started learning to RPO him. So I'm kind of working towards, all right, well, if that guy makes that play, what's your next adjustment? Well, our next adjustments, we're going to start RPOing him. And I'm going to get into that on the next part of this presentation. But keep the questions coming, guys. I can kind of see on here. Aiming point for our lead man on the linebacker. You're talking about the guard, I'm assuming, Coach. For us, we tell them first available gap. We would like our eyes slightly inside, but you take the first color. So if that turns into inside backer or outside backer, we don't really care. Eyes slightly inside. Like this one, he took the first threat. Guard wraps right here. Okay, and again, this is the year we weren't super great up front. You can kind of see our guard will wrap. First threat he takes, which is the play side linebacker. And that's fine with us. We're going to have to go back and RPO the backside guy. All right. So
question, Coach.
Yes, sir.
Do you ever do any false pulling with your guard and just insert the wing back or vice versa?
On belly, we have not done as much. We do a lot on jet.
Okay.
We will do a lot of stuff on jet where we'll pull them away to see if they're reading them. We feel like we kind of want you to read our guard because I get in the RPO world, that's going to open up a lot of backside stuff. You know what I'm saying? So yes, I don't do it as much. It would be a good play. And then also kind of while we're on that, Coach, is a good point. That also is going to dictate our protection and play action. Like if you're reading guards, we're going to actually pull the guard to where away from where we're going. Like, that makes sense, I hope.
Yep.
All right. Switch call. And guys, I'd rather do questions. So if you guys have questions, hit them on here because I can talk all day, but I want to hear what you guys really want. Switch call for us is pretty simple. We're going to switch our Y and our B's responsibilities. I mean, we make it about as simple verbiage as you can get it. So here's an example. We got a head up nose. So we're going to get a double team here. That's number 2. So our tackle's going to take him. You get that wide 9 out here. We're going to tell our tight end and wing to switch. So our wing will block out. Our tight end is going to gut. He's going to skip pull. I shouldn't say gut. He's going to skip pull and insert. Our guard's going to insert. So we're still running belly. All our rules are the same, but there went the tight end as an insert. Just an easy, quick adjustment. You get that 5 technique. And again, look at our tackles blocking right here. That guy ran himself out of the play. That's all we want. Like that guy ended up almost 5 yards deep. We're fine with that. Okay, we're fine with that because he took himself out of the play. Look at our double team right there. We don't really get much, or if any, movement on our double team. We get him sealed and we go second level. And that's what we're trying to get our guy to do because we don't care so much about vertical push. We just want that gap. Once that gap hits, we're through there on gut. On belly. All right, so a couple things you can do to help yourself. I'm going to get into RPOs here, the second part of this, but the one thing you can do is formations. So you can do a gazillion formations I already kind of talked about going over. So a lot of times you may not gain a number. Like we didn't really gain a number doing this. They still have good numbers to us. But we did gain an all-state quick tackle now at tight end. And so we gained a personnel. Now that stand-up 180-pounder is going against a 280. So gaining numbers sometimes is good, but gaining people is better. We'll go double over. So we'll take both our receivers and bring them over here. There's our tight end wing. We'll run belly. Like this one, we run it here. The next play we came back and we threw the screen. As you can kind of see on this, they were twins, so we're going to come back the next play and we're going to throw the ball to the twins where they're not lined up. So formationally, yes, sir.
Do you ever move your wing to where he's in a receiver spot and not have a wing back to insert and just treat it the same?
Yeah, we do. I've got
like an A-gap power type play.
We have. We ran a little bit of power my last year at Southside because our wingback was kind of a dude. I mean, he was a pretty physical kid.
No, I was asking, like, do you move your wing back to a receiver and just run your belly play without the extra insert blocker?
Yes, sir. Let me fast forward to. Okay. I'll come back to get you one too. Let me go and show you because now that we're on that, I'm going to show you. There you go. All right, so this is trips. So we're going to run trips. This is belly out of trips. There's our wingback.
Gotcha.
Okay, and I'll come back and kind of explain why we would do that. But yeah, that helps you gain numbers a lot of times. So we'll run out of trips. We'll run, Coach. I've run this out of 10 personnel back when I was not wing T. This is not so much a wing T play. It's the wing T. But it's
almost combining A-gap power with the wham or ISO play.
Yeah. My thought process is this on belly. There's nothing wrong with power and counter. Those are great plays, and teams have won national titles, won Super Bowl championship. I mean, those are great plays. But I've always felt I want my big guys to block your big guys, and I want my athletic guys to block your athletic guys. And I feel like in power, I'm asking a wing back to kick a deep end, and I don't like that. I would rather just block him out with my tackle and insert like an ISO, my athletic kid. And I want to pull my quick guard because in our offense, that guy's the most athletic lineman. Yep. So now I'm taking our best athlete at line and a skill kid, and I'm leading on your linebackers. That's a better matchup for us. So that's kind of the idea behind it. But other things you can do, guys, to gain numbers, you can run your quarterback. You want to run strong belly to QB. There you go. So here's QB, strong belly. You snap the ball to this kid. We're going to gain numbers. You can kind of see they've got more guys in there. We're just going to fan them out. Again, watch the blocking. We're not dominating anybody. We're simply taking them where they want to go. Block them out.
What's your basic splits, Coach?
This year, you can kind of see our team like we were big. We went to a buffet and people lost money. So we were going to be tighter on our splits.
That's what I was thinking. It looked like you're pretty tight.
Very, very tight. You look at a lot of my Searcy clips from this year, we were kind of undersized for a 6A. So we were wider. But our base split would be 2 foot. But then we're playing a lot now with what we call smart splits. So we're going to widen a split depending on technique. Yeah, and depending on maybe where we're going or depending on our ability level with our linemen. So a lot of factors. Mm-hmm. But, there were years there were games this year we were in 4 or 5, even 6 foot splits, to run the ball because we could. But a lot of that, you would just develop it depending on our kid. You can go empty. If you want to run empty, this actually, all the other clips, that kid was quarterback. Now he's a receiver, and now we brought our kid in here, and we're just going to run empty Q belly. Okay, and this is on the goal line. We're on the freaking 2-yard line right here, and look at the box I've got. I mean, we're going to take that box all night. And then, again, that's not even that hard a block for us. There's our insert. There we go. Okay. We're about our 4th. He's a great kid, about our 4th guard that year due to injury. So he really is way too slow on his skip pull. So kind of ignore that part. But you see, look at the technique by our tackle right here. We're going to drive into this guy's hip and turn our body. We don't really move him. And we snap the ball at the 6-inch yard line and we end at about the 6-inch yard line. But again, we're not asking you to move them up the field. We're asking you to move them out or seal them out. Okay. Choice route. I could go a long time with that, and that depends on our quarterback and our receivers. But usually that's going to be a tagged route by me, unless our kids have developed to the point where they can make the call on their own. And that's just going to be in a pre-snap RPO. Run-pass ratio for us, I don't know if you're asking about like in general or on this play. For in general, it depends on the year. What kind of kids do I have? I'd have no problem throwing the ball if we can do it. But generally, we've been about that 70-30, and then some years even 80-20 run pass. I think this last year we were heavier than I wanted to be, and I'm hoping to get more close to that 60-40 kind of range. Backside RPOs is what I think makes it go. You can run insert. You better be able to block it. You better be able to handle it. But how am I going to handle when they start trying to outnumber me, especially from the backside? We're going to play action the play side. But backside, how am I going to handle numbers? And that's what I think makes the play explosive. That's why RPOs are blowing up all over the place, is because we got to make plays work for us. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and get this question I see here. So 2 and a 5 technique to the strong side. Is that confusing to our tackles? They're going to have to communicate that. But what should happen on that is our tackle ought to block the 5. Tackle, he's going to usually be blocking out, but they'll communicate it. If you saw random bear front, you might have to down block him with a tackle, but pretty much he's going to be blocking him out. Okay. Steal for us. We run steal. I did not invent this. I didn't invent anything. I just put it all together. Steal for us, we're going to read that backside 4-eye, 3 technique. He could be even a 5 technique if we want to. That kid who's crashing B gap. And a lot of times the teams that play us, they're going to put a fast kid there and tell them to follow our guards. Try to make plays off buck, try to make plays off belly, try to blow up backside counter. It's a tough deal for us. Rules against strong guard, strong tackle. Let me hit them real quick so we're here. So center's on backside. So right here, he'd be here. Guard is number 1 defensive line across from the center. So he's right there to backside. Tackle's going to be number 2 defensive lineman, unless number 2's in a 9. Tight end blocks out. Okay. So steal technique for us here is pretty simple. I've got a good end zone shot on this. Steal, we're going to read this guy. He could be a 3. He could be a 4. He could be a 5. We don't really care. If we call steal, that guy knows I don't gap hinge and I go block out. And we'll change this, year to year. So it's not always steal. It could be, whatever word the kids come up with for it. But basically, we know he's going to block out, and that's our read. So that 5 technique, 4-eye crashes down. Here he comes. Pull and run. We'll run that off a buck. We'll run that off a belly. We started this year running off inside zone. So there was different things we could run it off of, but it's easy to teach our kids because when we call that RPO, the only guy that does anything different is your tackle. And the only thing your quarterback has to do is put his eyes there. So he'll put his eyes on that 4, pull it. And your quarterback, if he can't do that, you probably don't need to be in the shotgun if he can't read it to pull. So that's a quick deal for us. That's steal. We'll run peek and what we call lock. And I try to put different fronts on here to kind of give you guys an idea. Really, our guard we try to get him to go through A gap here, but he may hit C gap. But again, on backside, guard blocks number 1, tackle blocks number 2 if he's not in a 9. He's in a 9. So we're going to block down to backside. So the double team happens here. Again, notice our guard generally is involved in the double teams because in our offense, that guy's undersized. And then our read, backside, inside linebacker. So peek, we're going to read this kid right here, inside backer. We're going to run an inside breaking route. If he bites, so here he comes. If he bites, throw it behind his ear. And the great thing about 21 personnel is if you run it, this is a run. That safety better come fit because if he doesn't come fit, we're going to run the ball. So when he steps up and we catch it, we tell our guys, once you catch the peak, there's a lot of times there's nobody back there to tackle you. So it's a nice, easy concept. Just read that inside backer, pull it, throw it off his ear. We just call that peak. How deep are the posts on peak? A lot of times for us, Coach, I'm gonna hit a couple of these. Got a couple questions here. Our posts, we're just telling him to get over the safety. We really don't RPO that, but we'll come back to it. So the safety screams down and tackles our peak route, then we'll make a call and we'll just play action it and throw it. Is that quarters beater, cover 2 beater? We'll throw the post over his head down the road. We know we're setting that up, kind of a big shot play. Steal call. We don't always do it if we have a 4-eye. We can cut that guy if we wanted to, but it is a good one to run. So that's kind of our deal there. The route on peak, and we'll adjust it. This year I've done some studying on it. We're going to adjust it a little bit. The way we had taught it is if I can free release, if they're giving me a free release right here, we don't always get that. If I can free release, I want to go about 70% of my full speed, show my numbers, should catch the ball before 10 yards. Okay. If we don't get a free release on it, we have to win inside. And then I included this one because we're running the RPO here and we don't throw it. I wanted you to kind of see what that does to a defense. So we're going to run the peak. I'm sure they studied film and they knew we were going to run the peak. So this inside linebacker is trying to get in that window. You can watch it. That's our read. He kind of gets in the window. We hand the ball off. Well, he made the tackle, but he made the tackle for a gain of 15 yards because he had to honor that backside inside slant. I'm going to try to pause it because I know film's probably not great right here. You can see here comes our peak route with our receiver. A little highlighter here. Laser point. Let's do this one. Here comes our peak route. Okay, this linebacker is where our eyes are going. If it's wide open, we'll throw it. If not, we'll pull it. You watch, that kid decides, he can't fit. So he's got to go back and kind of help. And when he goes back to help, we hand the ball off. That's him making the tackle. But again, we got 15 yards. That was the RPO. So we didn't throw it, but it worked because it gave us kind of what we wanted. Yes, Coach, on play side, play action, remind me, and I'll hit it for you guys. We got one little quick insert play. There's a pretty good one, explosive play. And Coach asked about trips. All right, so we're going to run this out of tight end, which has become one of my favorite formations. Tight end, closed, and then trips away. Now we're going to run the same concept. We can still run steal. We can still run our other ones. It's what peak looks like. What we started noticing was teams would put this kid and try to jam up our slot, not let him get inside of them. Smart play. So now we're going to put him out here, bubble him, because most of the time that outside backer is going to expand with a bubble. Okay. And now we're going to run the peak on your inside linebacker. And so it looks like this. So now we're running belly, and then our peak will get run by our wingback. So we're going to run bubble here. We're going to run the peak. We're going to read inside linebacker. He's standing right here. So this kid right here, if he decides to bite on belly, he reads the guard, he fits, throw it behind his ear. And then once you catch it, it's your kid versus safety. That team was really fast, so it wasn't a huge gain for us. But again, it's a pretty clean, easy read. It doesn't change much. We're reading this kid. By formation, we've got him out of the box. Now we're going to read him. And he can't be right. If he goes to cover, we'll hand the ball off, and we're going to gain some yards. If he doesn't cover, we're going to give the ball. Okay, I think that's all I've got on this, guys. We had a bunch of questions that look like, so let me kind of get to a few of these, and I can pull up some other film if I need to. Play side, play action. I do have a clip on that. Sebastian, at least if I've got time, I think I've got time to pull that up. And then how am I teaching the fullback? Are you talking about like the wing back there, David?
No, your tailback. I notice he don't ever turn his shoulders. You're keeping him square to the line of scrimmage when does he take a shuffle step to the quarterback? How are you teaching that?
He should shuffle the quarterback. Let me see if I can go back here. He should, because this is supposed to be downhill. I mean, theoretically, this could hit a gap. So like right here, he step back. Again, we do that on speed of the kid. At Southside, a lot of times we would just get it and go downhill right now. Right. My kid's a little quicker, so we'll actually slide step, and then we'll hit it downhill to let the block develop because I don't want to beat the guard.
And are you giving him a vision point? Is he looking at the first down lineman to the power to your strong side, see if he's going to get kicked, or is he looking at your guard?
Should be looking at the guard. He should be looking at the guard. Now, I tell you what, like you can see, this is actually pretty good. I don't know if y'all can see this pretty clear. But there's our guard. He sees him. He's on him. That's kind of what we want. At Searcy and in years at Southside where I had a back that could do it, we'll allow them to follow wing or guard because a lot of times those guys have really good vision. And so we'll let them cut off either one of them. But at Southside, most years we would tell him to get his hand on that guard.
When you're in practice, are you looking to make sure you're still seeing his shoulders so you don't get his shoulders turned? So I notice all your film, your running backs, I mean, they're staying square to the line of scrimmage even on the handoffs.
Yeah, but we want them square as much as we can. And you'll even see, I'm going to see if I can, I'll tell you what, I'm going to see if I can pull up a little bit of, so I can get out of this real quick. Zoom communications.
Which is a lot different than what you normally see in a wing T look. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it is. It is.
Yeah.
I'm going to see if I can pull up a little bit. Well, that's what, to me, this play came from the spread world. It really did. It's called gut. It's kind of a draw concept. We just married it with, all right, 21 personnel. And then how can I marry this? I found that it married super well with buck. So if you want to play 9 technique, outside backer out there,
Right.
stop buck, which is what teams try to
I
do.
agree. I see exactly what you're seeing right there. These guys overplayed you. I watched a film of you sent me,
Right.
and they were overplaying you outside, and they just couldn't stop them. You know,
It's one or the other. Yeah, that's what a lot of people ask me. What's your best play? It depends on how they line up. You know,
Right.
it could be buck if you want to give me the look I want.
Right.
It could be belly, and really, I'll give you all. This is not world class knowledge. It got passed down to me, but people ask, well, when do you know if you're going to run buck? When do you know if you're going to run belly? If you're in a 7 technique or a 6, we're probably going to run buck. If you're in a 9 technique, we're probably going to run belly. That doesn't mean we have to, but I mean, you've kind of dictated what you're going to get.
That's kind of our under center rule, Coach. We run buck if we have a certain front, and we run power if we have a certain front. That's exactly what you just said. If we get a 9, power.
It makes it clean. All right, can y'all see my beautiful family here? By the way, I'm going to try to pull up a little bit of. I've got a play action pass I really want to show you guys.
Is that the insert play you're talking about?
Yeah, that little insert play. I think I put it on Twitter or YouTube or something, but I want to pull it up because I've got it. I've actually got this whole thing I'm about to pull up to you guys. It's on my website right now. It's free, so you can go download all these different clips. I used it during my YouTube here at Buck and Counter. It says Buck and Counter, but I actually put a belly play action in there. And let me see if I can find it. Play action. Let's peek. Let's peek. Play action. Here it is. Okay. View. Current slide. Okay. So this is our belly play action. Okay. Hold on. A little cowbell. There we go. Okay. So what we're going to do on this is we're going to fake belly. They were keying guards. They were also keying the headgear of my tight end. So if he blocked out, that safety was screaming down here to fit. And so we just ran. This is just our belly. We call it belly B pop. So we're going to run belly with everybody. I mean, actually, this is off buck, but it's the same. That's right. No, I got the wrong one. Give me a second here, guys. I will find the right one. It was that game. Here it is. Okay. I'll turn the sound off this one too for later. Okay. All right. So sorry. Now I got it. So we're running belly B pop. So we're going to block belly with everybody on the team. So you'll watch kind of a check with me right there. We're going to run belly. You should even get the guard pull. You see him pull. Is he downfield? Yep, he's downfield. But they're not going to call that. The tight end will block out, and the wing back is going to insert and then get vertical and run. We call that pop. We're going to put the ball right on him. Okay, so it's a nice, easy play action to tight end wing off of belly. We have a few off of buck, but off of belly, that's become our. You see this all the time now. Teams that are running like split zone and stuff, they'll slide them up in there. That's all it is. So it's not unique and new to us. But
I got a question, Coach.
Yes, sir.
This is not really about this play, but on your mesh point for your buck and your belly, is it pretty much identical as far as the beginning of the mesh?
I'm trying to get out of sharing this screen so I can see people. Okay. All right. So you said on the mesh point, it's a little different. Like for us, buck ought to cross in front of our face. Like it ought to almost be like outside zone if you run outside jet. And for us, belly, we turn it a 45 at quarterback.
Okay. That's what I thought.
That's it. And we always tell the quarterback, the running back's responsible for getting the ball because the quarterbacks are usually having to look and read something upfield, whether that's a 4-eye or a 5 or an inside backer. So the running back's job is the mesh. Quarterback is looking up.
Agreed.
I got to ask you a question about that situation there. So if you want to run that, because I saw a video of you running that with your 8-back. So if you went red flop and you ran belly, it'd be A pop, and then you'd run him behind the safety.
Yeah, you're starting to see it, man. I'm
learning it.
all we're doing is we're figuring out who's fitting. Who are you? Because on defense, are you fitting a linebacker? Are you fitting, when we go into our flop set, are you fitting a safety? And then we're trying to mess with, that's our whole play action game. That's really it. A lot of guys ask me about play action, and that's really it. We're going to crack, and the minute you ignore it, crack and go. And then we're going to insert, and the minute you ignore it, insert and go. we'll run with our tight end. You know, if you're ignoring him, he'll act like he's blocking that 9 technique and he'll sneak down the sideline. So all we're doing is finding who you got. So good question, Coach. Somebody asked on here too, is read a QB run pass option? Read for us that year, or a lot of years when I kind of put it out in my playbook, was we're going to now release our quick tackle to the inside linebacker, and we're going to read the D end. Again, like I said, we change verbiage every year because if you go on Zooms and talk a lot, you better change your verbiage, you know, for opponents. But it's the same concept of we're going to read that 5 technique. And then what drill for peak? A lot of times, you know, we'll drill it with the quarterback in the RPO where I'll stand at linebacker depth. He's running the mesh, and if my hands don't go up, he hands it off. And if my hands come up, he throws it to me to kind of teach where his eyes go. And then we'll run it with the receivers. When we run it with the receivers, we throw it every time. I'm not going to make them run a route, not get them the ball. They tend to get mad about that. And then also tackle trap. Let's see. Do you run tackle trap, or is that off of steel? We do a couple of different things at Searcy. We started kind of doing some stuff with our quick tackle. That'd be probably another whole other conversation. I can do a whole other Zoom on that. But we started doing a lot of things with that quick tackle because usually we're personnelling that kid to be our best lineman. And so now we're going to use him to his advantage. All right, guys, I've got whatever time to chat until he kicks me out of here and y'all get a smart guy on here. So front side reads off belly. When I had the guy, this was actually about 5 years ago, we ran what we call belly read, what everyone else in America calls power read. But it literally was the same thing. We would run basically jet with the running back to the strong side, and the quarterback would read the 5 technique.
Coach, when you run your jet weak, I know this is off topic a little bit, but it's your weak belly. Are you doing your typical cross block if you get a 3 tech, or are you basing it up every time? What's your
every time for us, we want to keep it the same.
Base it.
Yeah, so we're going to base it. So we have a 3-5, we're going to fan that. You know, if we have a 1-5, go down and kick out on the 5, or we'll, you know, quick tackle, take the 5 out. Our thought process was a lot of these guys, if they get an injury, they got to play on both sides of the line. And so when they hear the word belly, they know the rule. You know.
Gotcha.
So when you're working with your quick tackle and you're working at your ISO concept with your jet sweep concept, if you actually want to read that in, you know, for a better word, I'm just going to say I'm going to use turbo for my jet sweeps. I'm going to turbo read. I mean, I just don't see anything easier. It'd be a simplest thing to tell the kid.
Yeah, if you, and this is football 101. I mean, you guys know this. If I can change one tag and I get a new play and only one guy does something different, man, I'm a genius. That's what Oklahoma. A guy brings a little napkin of play calls, but they tag everything, so it looks like a gazillion plays. You know?
And I'm coming out of the pistol system where I did run the power read a lot, so I'm trying to figure out.
Oh, Coach, if you run buck and your quarterback can run it all, you need to run power read. I mean, I highly recommend it.
Yeah.
I mean, you get the 9 technique, squeeze, and there you go. It's nasty. Right. Defense gives us most problems usually when they're fast and big. Now, it depends again on what we're trying to run, Coach. So basically, like if anything you put out defensively will give issues. So teams that want to kill our RPOs go man zero. And so we got to come up with another answer. How are we going to answer that? Teams that want to stop belly are generally going to put a 7 technique in there. They're going to put a good 3 technique. They might even put a head up nose. You know, that's smart. If you want to stop belly, well, what's our answer going to be? We're hopefully, theoretically, we'll run buck. You know, teams that want to stop buck are generally going to put a 9 technique that's going to blow stuff up, and then a spill safety who's going to clean stuff up. So those are all the things you're going to see. If you're on here and you're wanting to run defense, here's what I would suggest. What do you worry the most about what I'm doing? Stop that play. Make me beat you left-handed. You know, that's kind of, I used to be defense coordinator. You can sleep at night if you took their best player out of the game and you stopped their best play. If they beat you anyway, they're probably better than you, you know, but you at least stop that. So perfect wingback. On some of those clips at number 22 is what we want. You know, 6 foot, 6'2", 200 pounds. he could be he's not quite fast enough to be a tailback, but he's that similar to that and can catch. That's a perfect wingback. I've had that for 2 years, and I've coached his offense for 6. So the rest of it, you better adjust to what you get. This year, our kid was super athletic, not so great at blocking because of size. So we had to tweak things. And then other years, I've had a really good blocker, and then and he can't catch or run. So you really got to figure out how we're going to balance that up. And so for us, perfect one is going to be that 6 to 6'2". He's kind of that what most colleges are going to recruit as an H-back. QB rules for mesh point on belly versus buck. Again, belly's going to go flat, so QB shouldn't move on buck. Snap the ball, should go in front of his face. Belly, I'm going to turn it at 45. We tell them you get about 1 shuffle. On buck, you get about 1 shuffle to gain time on the read, and on belly, it's a pretty quick read on that. So belly, we're going to kind of move our arms with the running back, and then we can pull it or not.
Hip.
General stuff, yes, sir.
I was talking out loud, Coach, thinking.
Oh, you're good. Okay, that's fine. General stuff on mesh stuff, like anyone that's pulling reads. If your quarterback is your best athlete, then you tell them pull it if you think you can pull it. And if your quarterback, you really don't want them to pull it, you tell them, hey, pull it if they're going to tackle the running back. And that way, it's just a real simple, subtle way of pretty much nicely telling them we want you to hand the ball off because this kid's really good. And a lot of times your quarterbacks know that. Most of the time, they're pretty aware of I'm in here to run it, I'm in here to give it. Can you say again when you run sweep on the defensive alignment, general rules, and again, everything changes, but we like buck sweep a lot of times. We get that 3, and then that team's playing like a 7 where they're really trying to stop belly because that's an easy block. We can almost double that thing with our tight end and our wing down to the next level. If they want to play a 9 technique, then we're probably looking at more belly. Running back alignment and rules. We try not to move them. Coach Morris, good question. We try not to move them. That's why, depending on how athletic he is, we may cheat him a little bit, what we call horizontally. Like we may let him get closer to the quarterback on belly as opposed to buck. We don't want the depth to change because the coach on the other sideline can see the depth. He doesn't always, the linebacker can see that we're cheated in, but the coach doesn't see that until they're over on the sideline watching film. And so we don't want the vertical alignment to ever change, but we will allow them to cheat in a little bit if we're going to run belly. QB's depth breath, heels at 5 yards, and we can change that if we need to, but basically we're at heels at 5.
Okay, I got to ask you a question, Coach. When you are doing your shifts, and you're on the quick side and you're wanting to run buck sweep, so you have to retag that to something else because now you know, or do your guys just learn, hey, I'm on quick side now, I know I'm the lead pull, kick out, and the other guy becomes the wrap, or do you call it a different name?
No, the way we do it is we tag what we're shifting to.
Okay.
Like if we're going to end up in red, we're going to say red shift, and our wing back and tight end know to line up in blue. So they're going to line up on the left, and they know that they're shifting to the right.
You're going to shift back to your strong formation.
Yeah, we're going to shift back to that, or sometimes we'll shift to an overset to the weak side. So just to try to break a tendency. But
all right, so how did you get? Because I watched you do this. How did you get? If you want a blue shift, but your split end and your A back was already on the red side, so they were on the left, and then they shifted over. I think you called it China.
Yeah. We at Southside we picked 3. And we just had one word for it where they knew we lined up here and we shifted here.
You ended up with quads with tight end.
Yeah, it's an easy deal. But this year at Searcy, we've gone to something a little easier, and it's something you may want to look at is we just call the formation we want to end up in. And then we have 2 or 3 guys that we work with. We kind of depend on their ability up here to process. We allow them to move. And then the other guys know we go ahead and line up where we're supposed to end up.
Okay.
We want to go, let's say we're going to go red lion. If our B is pretty sharp and our Y is pretty sharp and our A is pretty sharp, we may allow them to line up away from the call and then shift the call. Right.
Like that.
Okay. Yeah, I was working on that. I was trying to figure out if that's how you did that, because I really didn't want to have to come up with a split side call for the Bucks week.
Yeah.
If I wanted to do a shift back that way.
Yeah. I mean, defensive coordinator breaks you down real hard, and their kids are really, really smart. They're going to figure out, okay, the tight end lines up to the other tackle in shifts. But I'm telling you, we're dealing with 16-year-olds. They're calling strength on your tight end. So
I think that would be a good Zoom meeting one day for you to just kind of go through all your shifts.
shifts. Yeah, I'll put one down there. All right. And that was new to us this year at Searcy. We did a bunch of that. So,
Well, Coach, we appreciate you coming on, man.
oh man, I enjoy getting to talk football. And guys, you saw my email on there. I'm not kidding. You know, if you got stuff, I've got stuff on my website. You can go get it. But if money's ever an issue, just shoot me an email. I'll send you whatever. You know, I've been very blessed in this world, and I want to give back. So,
And Coach has a lot of great material on his YouTube channel as well, and a lot of other different places. He does Zooms with a lot of different coaches and YouTube channels. Y'all can check out this YouTube and clinic and all the other Zoom clinics that we've done in the past on our YouTube. And we also have our podcast, Speed Kills Football, on Spotify and Apple. So y'all can check that out. We got Coach Lou Johnston coming up next. Y'all should have the link in your email. If not, you can post it right here and I'll resend it to you. After that, we got Coach JC Arsenault a little bit later. And that link should also be in the email, guys. So, Coach, we appreciate it again, man.
no problem, guys. Enjoyed it.